the forefathers said that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among those are life, happiness, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So our theme for this month is joy and happiness. And we remembered last week about what they were doing when they signed that Declaration of Independence. And sure enough, they pledged their life, liberties, and fortune, and they did. Most of them lose all of their wealth that they had. So this right to pursue happiness hasn't yet been completely fulfilled. Finally, we came to our senses and said, well, we should give women this right. And then we should give the African American this right. And there's still a lot of debate about our gay friends and their rights for marriage and other rights and things that we take for granted. So let's hold a high thought and a high watch that will continue to rise in consciousness as a human race and say that all of us as human beings have the right to pursue happiness in our own way and not be punished for it or held back. So my question to you and always to myself are you happy? Are you pursuing happiness? I'm not talking about the kind of thing that we just did with jokes. You know, that's okay, but that's not true happiness. It's a chance to laugh, and if we can't laugh at ourselves, then something is not working with us too well. And I want us today look at what is happiness, and also look at some ways that we can increase our happiness response to our joy, our sense of contentment about it. Sometimes we think that happiness is something that we'll get from somebody else. Like, I'll be happy when my soulmate arrives. I'll be happy when I get that promotion. I'll be happy when I can retire, or whatever the case might be. But we know that it's not anything on the exterior or outside of us that's going to bring us that happiness. And what we teach here is that we must first have a thing in consciousness before we have it in reality. So my post on Facebook this morning was, today, since I have the choice, I choose to be happy. Now, sometimes those choices are very difficult, you know, when you've lost a child, or you lost your grandfather, or you lost your job, or whatever it might be, or your bank account is low. But, you know, it's always a choice, and we're going to that place in consciousness to know that the solution is within. Nobody can make us happy. I don't want to sign up for that job. You marry somebody and say, now make me happy. It's too much. I can't be everything to everybody and to even one person. I can't do that. You have to do that work yourself. And so that's what we do here. We do that work which fulfills our life and enriches it on every level: health, prosperity, abundance, and our well-being. So one of the questions I would ask you is, are you contented? Because I think contentment is one level of happiness. It's that place of knowing that you, as Paul said, in whatever state I'm in, state of consciousness I am contented. So we learn that whatever is going in our life, there is a place in all of that spectrum which appears to be bad. On the outer part, there is a place of peace. There is a place of joy. There is a place of contentment. And that's where we are to go. And some things that sort of help me with that is, one, to understand what is my source. Not somebody else. That's not my source. Not another job, not another relationship, or not another promotion or a pay increase, but to know that God is my source. And to be reminded of that, and to remind ourselves of that by using the affirmations that we teach here. And the one from the Daily Word for Charles Fillmore, powerful affirmation on prosperity. You can get that by going to our website and then clicking on the Daily Word. God is our source. No one else can do that job. Because, you know, the outer situations and people will change. You know? Somebody comes into your life and you're feeling joyful and happy about it, and then over the years, sometimes breasts get cancer and have to be lopped off. Sometimes we grow old and we get sick and we have Alzheimer's, and all of a sudden this person that was bringing us this happiness and joy, things have shifted and changed, and we have to make another choice on that, to be committed to that. Depend on the source which cannot change and from which all good flows. God is my source of all good. Say that with me together. God is my source of all good. All of my needs are met now. All of my needs are met now. I am at peace. I am at peace. I am happy. I live in joy. Then secondly, other than that, is to remember that if we stay centered in our own Christ consciousness, because when we're talking about our rise in consciousness, when we do our God stretch, we're talking about taking our belief system. The consciousness is our total belief around life, around certain things that are going on in life, and wanted to lift it up to the Christ consciousness. See, we teach here that there's 3 levels of the conscious. There's the subconscious mind. There is the conscious mind, which is what we're in right now. You're aware of where you are, what's going on in my voice, and some of you are sleeping, but that's okay. No, I'm just kidding. And then the next mind is the Christ consciousness. So it's subconscious, conscious, and Christ consciousness, and that's where we want to go. And we do that by using the conscious mind to reboot and retrain the subconscious mind, which is what is really running the show. And we feed it those positive affirmations, and we feed it the truth of our being. And changing that changes the conscious mind and raises us up to a higher consciousness. And staying in that will help us stay in joy. We can make our work and play alike. I love what I'm doing. You love what you do? If you're retired, do you love that as well? When we realize that we're always one with God. And that's what we proclaim here every Sunday. And we practice the presence of God, which we do in meditation and prayer. We can learn to go through every day with the feeling of God's presence. And nobody can upset that joy and that happiness unless we give them permission to do so. And then we can speak the word. Being centered in the Christ mind and knowing God as our source, we can speak the word and do that which is needed to bring forth joy. But suppose we cannot feel any joy in our being. Are there ways we can make it spring up? Indeed, there are. There are material ways. There's ways of treating ourselves. And I'm going to give you 5 quick tips on what to do to increase your joy. One is take a media detox. Our minds are being poisoned by television and radio and newspaper and now the internet that constantly floods with all sorts of negative information that keep us in a state of gloom and doom. The media constantly telling us directly or indirectly that we need to have great looks, lots of money, popularity in order to be worthy and respected in our society. Stop watching the news. I did some door-to-door selling at one point, back when door-to-door selling was in vogue, and we were selling smoke detectors and fire alarms. And the man training me was very good at it. I wasn't, but I watched him do this, and I said, how is it possible for you to do this night after night? Because you had to have both husband and wife to make this decision. It was a costly thing to put in these things back then. He said, well, I don't watch the news and I don't listen to the news. I mean, most of the stuff that is on there is there because it's the exception. It's the exception. That's not the norm for us. Media detox. Secondly, be yourself. What other people think about you is none of your business. Stop trying to please others. Most people are wearing masks. We call that a persona. We put forth a persona. And I put forth a persona. But I wanted to practice here a ministry of vulnerability so that you knew that most Sundays when I was talking about was something that I was going through myself, and that I'm not perfect, and that I've made some bad choices, and I've made some mistakes. I've been a part of that 95% that was misbehaving. But unfortunately, these masks are like thick layers around the real you. And inside of you is a little child that is very joyful. On my beach walk yesterday, I went down pretty close to sunset, and I was amazed at the children and their playfulness. And they would run into the water, and they were digging their sandcastles and all that. And I had a metaphysical thought, build that sandcastle as beautiful as you can, but know that the tide will eventually wipe it away. So whatever sandcastle you're building in your life, know that it will change. That's why we're anchored in source. Be yourself. You're perfect, just the way you are. Perfect. A former housemate, not a roommate, housemate of mine who was a massage therapist, came to study at Unity Village and loved it. She was going to move there. Well, she did move there. And I had just gotten a 2-bedroom place and traded out a massage once a week until she got busy enough to pay me. And she did rather quickly became the massage therapist for the quarterback, Joe Montana. But anyway, the first time I met her was in the cafeteria. And she came in all excited about what was going on, but dealing with some stuff from the past. And sat down and cried and talked to me about not feeling beautiful. She lived in Hawaii earlier and loved motorcycles, and she had a motorcycle wreck that just tore her face and many plastic surgeries. So I sang her a song. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? Hasn't anyone ever told you that your loving is a miracle, and how deeply we're connected to your soul? So you're beautiful and perfect just the way you are. And other people need to know that as well. So media detox, be yourself, live in the here and now. I've talked about this before. We're either living in the past, remembering something, usually something that was bad, but we can make a choice to remember something good, or projecting that painful past fearfully into the future and saying, well, that which happened to me will be happening again. Live in the here and now. Can't change the past. Can't do any of that. And the future is not here yet, so you can't really plan that. So the question is to be here now as much as we possibly can and keep reminding ourselves that, okay, I've gone to the past, or I've gotten fearful about the future. What is going on right now that I can give my attention to and just take pleasure in it? Next, practice gratitude. Gratitude is such a powerful, powerful thing. It's an affirmation that life is good. So my affirmation is life is great, and then it gets better. I like that one. Life is great right now, but then it gets better. And if you don't have an affirmation that you can carry with you and hold on to that keeps you in gratitude, then make up one, or steal mine. You're welcome to it. Nowadays, we have a roof over our head and food on our table and transportation and family and other things like that, clothes, blue sky over. We truly, out of the world's population, have more than any civilization that has ever lived. If you ever travel to a third world country, you have some kind of idea of how blessed we are here to have pure drinking water and to have the sewage system that we have and all of the benefits that we have. So 5 to 10 minutes every day, just make your list. I try to do it at the end of the night before I go to sleep. Put my gratitude list in my head. What am I grateful for this day and for my life? And do this for a few months, and this happiness quota will rise in you. Finally, tell a better story. And we all tell our stories, don't we, about our lives. I went to a life coach. You know her, Dale Bach. She's my friend and neighbor. And what's nice about Dale, and when she works with people, is she'll let you tell your story once. Yeah. Oh, this is where I am. This is what happened to me. But not the second time. If you start getting into your story, she says, Ray, you're getting into your story. Byron Katie, in her thing that she does, which is called The Work, helps people to get out of their story. And she would challenge them to say, well, what if you didn't have that story? What if you didn't have that thought? What if you didn't have that belief? What would be different? Tell a better story. And you do it simply by telling another story. Stop repeating the old woe is me stories that we are telling. Your story up until now may have been something like, my life is terrible. I feel so bad. It's getting worse every day, and there's no way out. And you stop telling that story. And know that people really don't want to hear your story. They'd rather be around somebody who has a better story and who's happy and joyful. You know, I so look forward to coming to this church because so many of us are people who have that loving energy and those good stories and those good vibes. And our Aloha family is a good example of that. And we know we're going to be greeted with a great big hug and joyfulness. And a lot of us do that for one another. Rewrite your story right now. Take some time to relax and actually sit down and script out a different story for your life. Simply let go of those thoughts and those beliefs that no longer serve you, and those people who no longer serve you. Pull away all of those layers and once again show your natural state of joy and happiness to shine through. Jesus told us his mission statement. He said, I am come that your joy might be full. I am come that you might have life and have it abundantly. My friends, we can do this. It's our nature. It's our true nature to be happy and to be joyful. God bless you. Namaste.
When the water